This is a 94 Mazda MX-6. It's got a really nice body on it. It's not really dented up. So, we're going to look at what we got in the trunk first. I got to get a new key made because, as you can see, right there, it's kind of got a nice little crack in it, so we got to be real careful with it and make sure we get it all the way in the hole before we try to turn it. There we go. Open up. So what we got in the trunk here is, it looks like a couple door panels. Looks like they're in pretty nice shape overall. The driver one is anyhow. Set this off to the side. See if I can find me something to prop this trunk open with, because it doesn't have the shocks on it. That's one thing we'll have to get, is the shocks for the trunk so it'll stay open when you pop it. See if I can find me something back here to use for a hood prop or a trunk prop, actually. Okay. Let's see. Open this back up. So give me a second here, guys, to there we go. Got one door panel, the driver door panel. Here's the other one. Looks like it might be the passenger door panel. They're in really good shape. Got us a spare tire in here. Some old cut up RCA cables. That spare tire looks brand new. It ain't ever hit the ground. Got some cut wires back here. The carpet's pretty good in the back. See what these wires are. Another little brain back here. Oh, that must be speakers. Anyway, let's see what we got on this side. See if there's any fuse panels or anything back in here. Not too shabby in there. Now we'll move on to inside the car, see what it's like. Of course, you know, I already know what it looks like, but you guys don't. That's why we're recording it here. I figured that you guys have probably seen a car being loaded onto a trailer and a car being unloaded, so I figured I'd skip all that, not make you guys go through all the loading and unloading process. Get these door panels back in here where they're not going to get all tore up. Make sure I got my key in my pocket. Bada bing. Gonna go ahead and leave that in the trunk. So over here to the driver's side. The dash looks really good in it. It's not all beat up. Glove box opens. is a standard as well. See what all we got in here. Nothing in the console that's there. There's no front seats whatsoever. Have to get carpeting for it. Let's see, we got some kind of had a gasket set put in it. Looks like maybe a head gasket or something. Got the little side panels in here for it. Some other little stuff in here. We'll have to figure out where all that stuff goes when we put it back together. That's for the bottom of the steering wheel. Cup holder. Some other little gadgets and clips. Some more little panels. Goes under the dash there for the vent. Got that in here. Looks like we got a little amp wire and a brand new timing belt. Don't really know what that is. If anybody knows, looks maybe like an ashtray cup. Yeah, because here's the little factory ashtray that goes with it. We'll be putting that back in because I'm a smoker. I want a place to put my cigarettes out. An old spark plug wire. Don't really know what that is. I don't even know if that would go to the car, but little lever for the trunk, for the gas door and the trunk. That'll go right there. Not quite sure what that's for. Another little bracket. We'll figure this stuff out eventually, though. I'll probably end up getting a book for it. We got a little visor. Looks like the back seat overall is in fairly good condition. All the seat belts are in there, as you can see. Okay. Now I think it does have a sunroof up there. We'll later see if that works. Both the visors, it's got visors in it. They're not in bad shape. Pop the old hood here. Okay. Let's see here. Get the old hood popped up. I'm going to set you guys down for a second here. Well, I'll just hold it like this. Go ahead and open that deal. What we got here is a Mazda V6 double overhead cam 24 valve engine. It does crank over. It's got the aftermarket cold air intake piece here with the filter. Looks like it's got some kind of little wastegate thing or fuel pressure regulator, maybe for NOS or something. Got aftermarket headers on it. See if we can get down in there for you to see those cool little dudes. Let's see, what do we got back here? Just, you know, basic wiring and stuff. It is not locked up. So, I mean, there's a little bit of work that we got to do to it, but overall, the condition of the car is in pretty good shape. It's definitely going to need tires. Anyway, give y'all one more good look at it. There was one thing I was wanting to check under here and see if it's front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. I believe it is front-wheel drive. Yeah. It's going to be a front-wheel drive car. Look under the front. Yes, see the CV axle going into the wheel there? That's a good indication that it is a front wheel drive car. Let's see here. And right now what we're going to do is we're going to check the fuses and some of the connections on the wires. It does crank over, but it seems like it's not firing correctly. So we're going to check this stuff out and see if we can't get it to fire correctly. Shoot a little gas in it and maybe start it. Ah, shit. I love it whenever you're trying to pull something out and it don't want to come out, then it finally releases. That fuse is good. I think these are just, no, it's not a spare, it's got a spot for it. Let's check this one. That one looks good. I don't know if all these are good or not. Let's see if we can't figure out how to pop this thing loose here. This plastic cover has got to pop off of here somehow. They all look in the top presentable. Some of them are, yeah. This one right here, yeah, it's good. So all of those are good. We'll have to be getting some battery terminals for it. Let's just go back on here now. They make this stuff just pretty complicated now. There's that. Let's see here. This plug's plugged in good. That plug's plugged in good. This is what I want to look at right here because these wires are kind of janky looking. Let's see up there. Get some shoddy wiring work here. This could be the reason that it is not firing appropriately because this white tape is not factory tape. Let's take these loose and see what we got under here. That's exactly what the issue is right there. That's why it's not firing up. That means I've got to fix these wires before it'll do what it's supposed to. That's why it's not firing up. Right there. See that janky wiring job? That's one of the plugs going to the distributor. So we know that that's going to be an issue right there. I'm going to have to rewire these appropriately because, and I'm sure this other plug is going to be that way too. That's not a good way to wire this. So anything that has this white tape on it, I'm going to have to go ahead and take that stuff off. Let me go ahead and go see if I can find some stuff. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. I got a few things over here that I'm going to try out on this. First of all, I got these little wire connectors here. That's probably one of the best ways to do it. I got some of these that are a little bit smaller. I think these will probably be they've got different ones in there. Some of these, maybe. They got different stuff in there. and maybe a little solder as well. Heat these little wires up right here. Melt a little solder down into the connector, and then stick the wire in it, clamp it, and then heat it up again, and you might get a pretty good little deal. But I don't know if I'm going to actually try and use the solder with this yet. First off, we've got these little plugs unplugged here. I need to try and get some of this tape removed so that I can peel these wires back some to get the connectors on it right, where it makes a good connection and it ain't shorting out. Always got to make sure that whenever you're doing wires like these, that you don't have any bare wires. You can fry the computer, which can be very expensive to replace, even if you go to a salvage yard. Because not only will you have to replace the computer, but a lot of times, this one's a little bit older, so it may not apply to this one, but a lot of times, whenever you have to replace the computer, you'll have to go to a shop or something and have it flashed for that computer. It's basically a reprogramming. So I'm going to slice the rubber back, or this tape back, factory tape here. See if I can't expose a little more of the wire there. Be very careful whenever you're doing this not to slice into any of the wires and create more exposed areas, which is what I'm trying to do right now. Be pretty careful with it. And then I need to cut this little rubber piece back here to expose plenty of wire to splice into. I'll knock down in that piece of rubber there and just kind of slice it. Pull it down. I don't like just using black tape on stuff like this. There's going to be a lot of heat under here, which will kind of melt that tape down if you don't have certain tape. Let's go ahead and unplug this and move it out of the way. It needs to be attached more securely, which it is not. Let's go ahead and get these hoses off. There we go. It's a pretty good little cool air intake setup, but I think that it should be turned more downward rather than right. It looks cool up here and all, but I don't know, we may leave it there too. But back to what we were doing here. Got one wire, the ground wire, and I may end up, because this has been cut back before, I may end up having to add a little wire to it. Which, if I add wire, I will definitely solder those wires. But I'm pretty sure the reason it wasn't firing off is because these wires wasn't getting good connections. And it looks like they might have been kind of trying to short out somewhere here. This wire, I don't get that. There's nothing like that on this. Show you what I'm doing here. working because the wire is too small for that. That wire's got plenty, and that one's got plenty spliced back. Okay, I'll be right back. I gotta go find some more stuff for it. I'm back. So what I've done is I went back and I got some of these old pieces of old wiring harness that I had in the back there. They're about the right gauge for the wires that's on here. So I'm going to go ahead and prep these up to add a little to the harness here. Got my black one there. I'm going to put this green and yellow one here. Go ahead and line those up with this black one so they're all the same length. I don't like it being long in some places and short in others. I'd like to have just a little extra leg room there. So now I'm going to go ahead and splice these a little by heating the wire and then just kind of peeling the melted wire off. That exposes the wires pretty good, and if there's any kind of coating on the wire itself, the heat will burn that off so it gets a really good connection. Okay, come over here and get my little connectors. I'm not so sure that I may just go ahead and solder these in. Now, if I solder, I gotta tape. I think these will work. The centers are pretty much. Got that one in. Go ahead and add that on here. I think it wants to be clamped. So these are color coded. This is a blue one. There's a blue dot on your clampers. You will want to put that into the blue dot because it's a blue connector piece. So you just go ahead and put that in there like that. Just go right past the little lip where it shrinks down and go ahead and give that a really good squeeze. And that's going to clamp that metal down inside there. As you can kind of see, I don't know how good the quality is because the only camera I have right now is a phone camera. So bear with me, guys. Eventually, after my channel gets going really good, I'll get some better cameras. Got that in there. We'll go ahead and clamp it the same way in that blue spot. Clamp it real hard. Real hard. And then I like to take and go right in the middle of that and give it another good clamp, because where the wires connect at is very important there. Twist this up. I like to leave a little bit. I mean, I don't like the wires to be spliced back too long, but I like to have enough there to stick into the clamp and get a good grab and clamp on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. These little connectors has a little loop inside of them, and that's where you want to try to get that wire to go. Is down in, there's a big hole, and then there's a little loop inside that hole. And that's where you want the wire to go down in, because once you get it down in that little loop is actually what you're clamping down. Anyway, basically what we're doing is just trying to get it to where I can get it to fire off. And I think this is going to do that. Once I get these wires clamped in and together, then I think we'll be in really good shape. I'm trying to use colors that match the colors that's on the factory harness. Like that was a green wire that we just connected on. This next one is probably a ground source. It's a black wire with a white stripe. So I've gotten a black wire with a white stripe. That way if I sell this car after I get it running or whatever, and anybody needs to do any kind of work on it with this stuff, then you'll have the right colored wires. It'll make it easier for somebody else in the future, if indeed they decide, I decide to sell this. But I'm thinking that this is going to be mine and my wife's personal hot rod. This is going to be our car. She really likes the way it looks because it reminds her of her Toyota Paseo that she used to have. I'm going to shut up now, and I'm just going to work and film what I'm doing. So I'm sure you guys will probably get tired of hearing my voice. I don't sound very good on camera. Another thing, those little connectors kind of work like a wire nut. Once you get the wire started into that loop, if you give the connector a good little twist in the direction that you twisted the wires, then it'll kind of almost screw on there pretty good. It makes it a little easier to get the wire into it. Go ahead and give that a good clamp. Give it a tug, make sure it's on there good. Clamp that center down. One more wire on this end, and then I got to connect them all to the plug. Then I'll take the tape off that other plug and see what we got on it. Got some wire size for that yellow one. You get this little torch down in here out of the lens because it's blowing pretty good. Okay. Now we can splice these other wires back and go ahead and get our deals on these. I already got one of them on. I took one too many out because I forgot. That's alright though. Down inside there again, make sure I hit that little hole under it. Slide down on these. Okay. This is going to allow, having this extra wire on here is going to allow to have a little play in the wire. That way, you know, when the motor, you're gassing on it or something and you got a little give, a little pull here and there, you got to have a little extra wire so that whenever it does those things, and they're going to do them, that's, you know, just inevitable. It's going to happen. It's going to, you know, the motor is going to flex a little whenever you're gassing on it, especially whenever you give it, you know, you put like NOS or turbos, which this will get a turbo eventually. First off, we got to worry about getting it fired up. One plug connected up, get it from the black tape. Hey, I'm back. Got some black tape here. Cut me off a couple good little pieces here. This is just to go around the base down here, you know, to make sure the wires are good and sealed off, not grounding out or shorting out. Don't want that. That causes very bad problems again. Like I said, it can short your brain out. And brains for vehicles can be very expensive. We do not want to spend any more money than what we have to. Parts and stuff that I put into it, you know, we're going to spend money on them. I'll go ahead and give a shout out now at this time in my video to some people that kind of inspired me to start a YouTube channel. Cletus McFarland, first of all. I'm a big follower and a big fan of Cletus. Grindhard Plumbing. You guys had a big hand in inspiring me as well to start a YouTube channel. So I'd like to give a big thanks and a shout out to Cletus McFarland and Grindhard, all the guys at Grindhard Plumbing, all the guys at Cletus McFarland in the Freedom Factory. And so a couple great groups. I've been watching Grindhard Plumbing for a long time now, quite a few years. Since I know they were in the little bitty shop whenever I started watching them, and now they're, you know, Grindhard Plumbing's got got him a big shop built up there now, and they're doing bigger and better things. And I just hope that one day I can progress like they have. Cletus McFarland, I've been watching him for a long time. He had already had the Freedom Factory whenever I started watching. But I've been watching Cletus McFarland for a long time as well. I buy a lot of merchandise from him. Anyway, enough with the shout outs. Y'all are probably more, you know, interested in seeing what I'm doing here. Right now I'm just making sure that right here at the base of this plug that the wires are good and taped up where, you know, they're not gonna, whenever it starts sending signal to the distributor here, that it's not gonna jump any kind of fire through these. I don't want, you know, we don't want that either. Jumping fire is not a good thing. Misfires, they could be called. Anyway, we'll get back in this video. This green wire down here is the one that I'm mainly concerned with, because I see some bare wires at the end of the plug here. I'm just trying to get those covered. I don't want those exposed. I'm kind of OCD, guys, so bear with me here. This is my first video. I've been meaning to do some other videos on my go-kart builds and stuff. I've got a build that I'm working on right now, a go-kart frame. It's supposed to be like a mini car. Whenever it's done, it should resemble like an old 32 Ford Coupe convertible. You know, like the old cars that had the old mother-in-law seats in the back is what they were called. The trunk ain't really a trunk, it's a seat. I'm not so sure that I'll put a seat in mine. But enough with that. I haven't even shown you guys that yet. I may, after I get done doing this, I may take you over and give you a glimpse of it. I did a little bit of mocking up on, you know, coming up with a frame design and stuff, putting a few things together, but nothing's been welded, nothing's permanent. I don't want to do anything permanent until I have a chance to record it so that you guys can see it. You know, see it start from nothing and come to something. That's pretty much what I want to do. All right. So I don't think I'll make you guys watch me do this other plug. I will have you guys see me unwrap it, you know, and see if it needs anything. But after I unwrap it, I'm going to go ahead and probably end this video. And I'm just kind of curious as to what kind of goober job got done on this. Because the job on that other plug was terrible. This one looks like it's terrible too. These plugs is exactly why this thing was not firing. And, Jesus. What made somebody think that wiring all those together was going to be a good idea? Holy crap. That is not a good wiring job. Once I get this off, I'll bring the camera over here and I'll show you guys what they've done. So, they had all of these wires, whoever did this job had all of these wires wired together. None of them look like they're supposed, sorry guys, I got way out of the video shot here, but you can see there, none of that is like it should be. Alright guys, I'm gonna call it good on this video. We'll see you next time. Have a good day.